Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button to always get my updates. This tutorial will talk about functions. What is a Python function? Python function is just any other script that is written by someone to perform a given task. For example, you've been wondering what functions we call in Python, or how we are able to compute stuff in Python. We are able to compute stuff, or like to add or to subtract or to multiply or to power something in Python, just because of some functions that are already written by some people, and they come when they are already built in. So the moment you install Python, these functions come when they're already installed. All right, and so we don't need to install them anymore. But we have also realized that there are some functions, for example numpy, matplotlib, and so on. We'll look at such modules that have different functions that enable us to compute, for example arrays, plotting, and so on. Those modules are written by some people, and then we are able to install them with some commands. But basically, what's the baseline of these functions? First of all, before we look at how we write a function, let's try to see what type of functions that within Python when you install it. So to do that, we can open up a Python shell, and then when we open it up, we can type help. All right, and then when you enter, it will ask you to enter anything or any topic you want to get help assistance on. And so what I'll do is to just enter modules. When I do that, it will take its time, and then finally it will bring us something with some errors or warnings, and then finally it will bring the modules that exist, or that are either installed within pre-installed within Python, or that we did install on Python. For example, right here there is matplotlib. This is a big module or library I installed myself. We have cmath. Cmath handles complex numbers and so on. It is a built-in module for computing complex numbers. We have also modules like math. This is also an inbuilt-in module. We can basically use library, modules, and then functions, in that a function is within a module. Let me, for example, try to show you what I'm trying to mean. If I go to Python and I make a simple script here, all right, and then let me try to save this maybe on desktop, and then I can call it trial. It definitely end with the .python.py. Now let's try to see if x equals 5 and y equals 10. Let me say I'm looking at x times y. I need to print the final answer, which is x times y. All right, and that is going to give me 50. So what happens is that within Python, Python already knows that star, when I use star, I'm trying to multiply these two numbers. It will be 10 times 5 or 5 times 10. All right, and if I print, for example, x plus y, the moment I use this operation plus, it simply knows that it's going to produce an addition. All right, so if I do that, it will give me 15. All right, so this means there's a function that is already written, that comes already installed with Python, that does this operation. But suppose I wanted to perform something different. How do I do that? It's either I'll look online to find if there is a script, or there's a already written function, or I'll write my own function. Let's look at another example. If we want to, for example, compute angles. Let's say I want to compute the sine of 60 or sine of 90, which we know that it's 1. But remember that Python inputs angles in radians, so we'll say pi over 2. I want to show you something, and we will call this one maybe a. All right, and then finally I'll say print a. let my focus be on this now, so I will mute this and comment on that. Alright, and then if I run this again, it will give me an error. Why? It is telling me it doesn't know what sign means. So what does it tell us? We know that sign of 90 is going to give us 1, but it doesn't know this. So it's because Python has a module that supports these functions, and within this module, the module is called math. All right, this math module contains all these functions. So if I want to use sign, then I need to go into this module and then import the function I need to use. So in other words, I'm going to say from math import let's say import sign. All right, we import cos, we import radians because we may do something to do with that, radians, and then we import also degrees. All right, so likewise we can import a sign, which is the arc sign, and a cos, which is the arc cos. All right, so and likewise we can import pi as well. If I do this and run this again, I don't expect now to complain. It will give me 1 right here. Why? Because now it knows that pi is imported and sign is imported, and then when we print a, it will give us the results. All right, so this tells you that there's a need always to import some functions. Now let's try to look at some part where we need to write our own function. For example, let's say if I wanted to convert okay, let's try to see if I wanted to convert maybe any angle to radians or to degrees. Then I'll have to say degrees, all right, of pi over 2. If I do that, if I print that and run, let me say I only need this answer, and I run that, it will give me here 90. All right, so this converts from radians to degrees, and if I wanted to convert this maybe from degrees, which is 90, convert it to radians, then I'll simply run that, and then it will give me pi over 2, which is about 1.5 something. All right, that's pi over 2. So this is how we can play with these functions. Now let's try to look at, if we wanted to write our own function, how do we go about that? All right, so we go about by making a definition, by defining. To write a function, we begin with a definition, def, and we can say my first function. All right, and what does this first function do? Let's say it's going to be maybe addition, so let's just call it addition, right, to make it simple for someone to understand, and that we expect numbers like a and b. All right, then this ends with a colon, and then when we enter that, then we need to say what do we need to do, right? So we need, for example, let's say if ab, we want just to add those numbers, and then we'll have z, you can say z equals a plus b. All right, and then we need always to end that with the return of the answer, which is now stored in assigned to z. All right, so when I do that, it will take me to a new line, and then now I can call my function right here, and then it will ask me two arguments that I need to supply, that I want to add, maybe 100 and 100, and then if I enter, it will return the answer as 200. So now this is a function I can save as a p.y file, and then I can always call it by importing addition, and then it performs any addition of these two numbers. But let me say in this file here, in this script, I have several functions like related to addition. For example, this is addition, and then I can as well define another function. Let's say in the same cell I can define subtraction, all right, again of a b, all right, and then this one has to return, maybe I can still use z as a minus b, and then we have to return z. If I go down here and say subtraction, alright, so let's say we call subtraction of 100, which is now a, and then 80, which is now b. If I do that, it return 80. Alright, so I'm just calling this from different cells, but our actual cell that has these two functions is listed here. So this tells you that you have defined a function, addition, subtraction, and so on. Let's say we need to write a function that checks if two numbers, if one is larger than the other. For example, that inputs two numbers a and b. Alright, if a is greater than b, then we have a minus b, and if a is smaller than b, then it returns addition. We can do that by simply again defining we can call it function, okay, that inputs a and b. All right, and then we can put a condition that if a is greater than b, all right, return a minus b. All right, return a minus b. Else, that is now another option, return a plus b. So this means that if a is larger than b, we'll take a difference of a minus b. In other words, if a is smaller than b, then return a sum. Like any other program, you may need the user to input his choices. Let's see how we can make a use of the input function where the user inputs his own choices. Let's say we define a program that we can call choice, and this is going to be left open, and then this is going to ask the user with two choices to enter two numbers, and the first one is going to be a equals, there will be numerical numbers, so I will use float. All right, and then this is an input. I'm using the input function where please enter the value of a. All right, and then also we have another input b. All right, and then we need to print out before even we do that, we then have d equals the power, which is we have a squared plus b squared power 0.5, then that will print the magnitude of A on B is equal to comma D. All right, so now let's see what happens to this. If we call back choice our program with these two parentheses, it will ask please enter the value of A, let's say 3, and then please enter the value of B, which is 4. Then the next step, it is going to compute this, execute this, and then finally, which it will not show to us, then finally it will go to this next statement, which is of printing the answer. Alright, so it will say the magnitude of A and B equals 5. Now this is a very important function, which is the input function, that may be used to construct good programs that allows the user to input all the information. We can use the float, a type of numbers, or we can use the category of integer, or we can use string, or we can use and so on. All right, for example, I'm going to enter the name. It will be, for example, string. Let's try to look at a program that allows the user to input all his details. All right, so how to do that? Again, we'll begin by defining a function that I'm going to call my details. All right, and then keep it open, and then the first one is going to be the name. Name is going to be a string, so I'm using str, and then input function, and then we have a command here, statement, that tells me what to do. Please enter your name. All right, and then the input now here is expected to be the string, and then next is the age. All right, and then this is going to be a float number, or you can keep it as an integer, but let's be general. It's an input asking the user to input his age, and then please enter your age. All right, and then we have something to do here with nationality, which is supposed to be a string. All right, and then this is input, string, and we have input, please enter your nationality. All right, so now what happens when you enter all this detail? We'll simply have a directive here of the program. Our program is to just print the program is to print all this information. So first of all, it's going to enter the name. All right, and then we want that name. I'm using \t to imply the tab. We make a tab. All right, and then we print the age, which is also a string. These are just headings I want to create, and again we can tab there, create a space of a one tab, and then we have the nationality, which is still a heading, string nationality. All right, so now with all this, I want to create some space up here, so I have \n, and then finally we have print. The first one is the name, and then let's separate that with a tab, \tab, and then next with the age, which is now a variable that we need to print, separated with a tab, and then finally we have the nationality. Alright, so let's try to run this. When we run that, we need to call back my details, which is the program, and enter to end. Ask you, my name is Albert, and then what is your age? Maybe 30. And then what is your nationality? Ugandan. Alright, and then it will print down here the name is Albert, the age is 30, and the nationality is Ugandan. Alright, so you can do as you wish right here. So this is basically how we can use the input function. Basically, input allows the user to enter whatever choice he wants, and then we can always specify what the program expects. For example, if it's going to be an integer, if you enter a float, it will not allow, or if you enter a string in terms of it will not allow. So it's better to specify what it should expect. For example, in the name, it should expect a string, and that's what we have. Alright, so basically this is the input function and how we can use it to create some nice details of the program.